The autopsy is complete. The Nolan Wells case just took another major turn. His parents are now speaking out, and Benjamin Crump has now joined them in a national interview with Don Lemon. So what does this mean? What did they actually say? And where does the case go from here? We're going to break it all down. So, hey, y'all. Hopefully everybody's good. Welcome back to On Go. I'm Uda. And today we are going to be taking a look at the latest developments in the Nolan Wells case after the autopsy was completed and his parents sat down with Don Lemon alongside civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. So let's get right into this interview and see exactly what was said.
Brought to light there as well. Let's get to the breaking news and get in Benjamin Crump, who is joining us in their journey along the way with the family, with Christine and with Elmore Wansley, Nolan Wells' parents. Ben, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about the break. Hello to the family and to you, and thank you for being here. Let's talk about the breaking news. The autopsy from Mississippi is in. And so what does that mean? When do you find out? Have you heard anything from them?
We were made aware that the autopsy was complete. And because media started calling us, and I know the district attorney's office, they have reached out to the family, but we did not get a chance to talk to them before the news told us the autopsy was complete. We are scheduled to have a meeting with the district attorney's office next week. Whether that means they're going to reveal the autopsy results is unknown to us, but we're certainly going to inquire because, we have been begging for transparency the whole way. And we've tried to be very transparent with them. And we hope that they will be transparent with us, especially his family.
Yeah. So Ben, can they not release information to you? Because I know that, to explain the process, because it goes to a grand jury. Now, do you know if they're going to be transparent with you or you don't, and how much you think they can or will reveal?
Well, I think they can. They can do what they want. We do cases all across America, and the district attorney and the governmental authorities have the authority to release information as they so deem to release it. Don Lemon, they could be transparent, or they can say, well, we're not going to release anything until the grand jury. And then that means we don't know when we're going to see it, because nobody knows when they're going to conclude their report. And George Floyd and Breonna Taylor cases like that, where you had governmental authorities trying to be transparent, they would release information to try to build public trust. What are they going to do in Mississippi? We do not know if they're going to release it. They may say, we're not going to release anything at all until the grand jury, and the grand jury might convene. You just never know.
You said the grand jury might convene. You cut out for a second, Ben.
They could convene anytime the district attorney's office says that we've completed our investigation. It's all up to them. It could be next week. It could be 2 or 3 months. We have no control over when the grand jury is convened and when the district attorney decides to release information.
Why did it take Mississippi so long to present these results? And do you know why they've been so quiet?
I don't want to speculate. I know oftentimes they would offer that they're waiting for a toxicology report. So why it took as long as it did, but we hope that they will be transparent with us, because as Dr. Mitchell, who conducted the independent autopsy at the behest of the family, Don Lemon, articulated. He shared that he would not be able to tell if the airways were obstructed, if the lungs were filled with water, because by the time he got Nolan's body, the organs had already been dissected. And so he would have to depend on the observations of the state medical examiner, who would have gotten Nolan's body immediately once they recovered it.
I want to ask you, so that's the only way that you're going to know if the independent autopsy and the state autopsy, if they indeed match up with each other. So two questions. That's the only way you're going to know. So one would think that they'd have to be transparent, or at least they'd want to, so that you can combine the two, because they'd want to get to the bottom of it. If there's some discrepancy with one or the other, that can be really, beneficial to finding out what happened to Nolan. And so what happens if the results in Mississippi don't align with the evidence shown so far? That's that's a big deal.
Yeah, and oftentimes, Don, you do find that you have differences in autopsies. I know I've handled several cases where the state medical examiner concludes one thing and an independent medical examiner concludes another. And then you have to put it before a grand jury and they decide. Or even more profound, the matter then goes to an actual jury trial in whether it's criminal proceeding or not, or civil proceeding. And so it really is about what you said, trying to be transparent with one another and seeing if we can figure out why you get these conclusions. And remember this, Don, autopsy is not the end all. It's still other factors that are important as well. Remember, Dr. Roger Mitchell said, even if the conclusion is he died from a drowning, then the questions become, what was the condition of his body before he entered the water? Was he conscious or was he unconscious? Was he forced into the water, or was he not forced into the water? So all of these become very important variables as you look at it. And I'm saying this, and I'm here with Christine and Elmore as we go to Cincinnati, Ohio, to speak to a lot of young people, high school students and so forth, at the Omega Conclave Convention. I'm sensitive. We're talking about autopsy, and I know this gets a little emotional.
Well, that's what I want to ask Miss Christine, who's there, and Mr. Elmore there as well. Miss Christine, thank you so much.
I'm gonna hand the phone to Christine.
Okay. I know that it's difficult for you to listen to this, and I was keenly aware that you're in the background and you're having to deal with this. I wrote something this morning in my newsletter, and I said that, you have been wanting transparency around this. First of all, good morning. Thank you for joining us. But you have been wanting transparency around this. But hearing the actual words and the results or whatever, that is extremely difficult. You want transparency, but then to be able to hear it is heart-wrenching. It's really a double-edged sword.
It is. And honestly, it's one of those things when we're sitting in it, because we have not been able to fully grieve, right? So there's a bit of disassociation that occurs. And I too have to just always take a moment to step back and be like, okay, however it goes, right? Like it has to, in some way, like it has to be accepted. But again, I can't fully accept the answers and things that were told to us at the beginning, because it was too soon. There was no investigation. Stories did not align. And so for people to say, hey, why can't you just accept it as a drowning and be done, and those things that have occurred. But, that's why we needed that independent autopsy. We needed to make sure that whatever was found was true. But of course, when you don't have the complete picture, that also, kind of makes you question even more, like, what exactly are we dealing with? And we need that. Like, my husband and I, our family, we need those questions answered.
When you got the news that the autopsy for the state autopsy was done, what went through what was that like for you? What did you think?
I said, oh, wow. But then again, like Attorney Crump said, the DA did reach out. Actually, I had texted the victim's advocate, Amanda, saying, hey, were there any updates with the autopsy? I know the coroner told us it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for the toxicology report to come back, which I know that was kind of the main thing they were stressing. And so then I think that afternoon, so today is what? So I think that was maybe a day or two ago, the DA had called and I missed the call. And by the time I saw it, it was too late and I wasn't going to call her at 9 o'clock because I've had to change the settings on my phones because of the harassing phone calls I've been getting.
I want to talk to you about all of that. But just one more thing before we go into that. I just spoke with Ben about transparency. What are you hoping from Mississippi, whoever's releasing this information, whether it be the medical examiner's office, the state, or the DA? What would you like from them? You want to hear everything, I'm sure.
I would like for everyone to just do their job. I would like for everyone to treat this as if this was their child or their family member and give us the same honesty, transparency, and respect that they would expect for them or their family.
Amen. Now, can we talk about the other stuff? You went there, so I feel like I can go there because I've been bothered by it. We've been reporting on it. It's disgusting. I'm going to start with one thing, and then I'll talk about the harassment of you, and especially as a mother and then as a medical professional, and I know you take your profession very seriously when you said, I love everybody, black, white, red, green, it does not matter. So do not get that wrong. And you've always had really good reviews. But I want to talk about this blaming the victim and smearing the victim. The reports that we've been hearing, no, Nolan was drinking, he was doing this, he was doing that. Why? I guess we know why they're doing it, but I want to know what your assessment is, how you feel about that, because let's just say that he was, I'm not saying that he was, let's just saying that whatever he was doing, that doesn't mean that you have to die.
Crazy, man. That's what I'm just showing you right here is the actual MDMR report, which you see on the bottom line, headed to the bottom line before Will Freeman. You see date, time, location, subject, food intake, and right here you see alcohol intake is heavy. Alcohol intake was heavy. So, yeah, witnesses, I thought that maybe some of the people on the boat was the ones that speculated that and said that he was heavily drinking, because who else would have known that he was heavily drinking besides the friends that he was with? So, yeah.
Then that doesn't mean he was the only one.
Exactly.
And what do you think young people do? On my senior trip, I was, out there, right? So I'm just saying, kids have fun. So what does that have to do with anything? That's what I don't understand. What's your assessment on this?
Honestly, I feel like that is a way, which we've seen this before, right? Pattern recognition. We've seen this where things have happened, especially when we talk about the Black community. And, after the death, it's a smear campaign. It's, what can we find out about this person? What can we say? And, that's something, my family and I, especially my husband and I, we definitely do not appreciate. But, we can't fight everyone that wants to have an opinion. But also, too, it's part of society that has been allowed to occur, which is it's gut-wrenching at best. Because if you were in our situation, how would you feel if there were millions of people who are saying, oh, hey, well, he was at an island, he was heavily drunk. And again, even with the drinking, there are so many conflicting stories, only because I have spoken with adults who knew Nolan very well, coaches that were out there. One in particular, I think he told me he saw Nolan somewhere between like 2:45 and 3:30. He was like, Christine, yeah, we talked for a while. We talked about college. We talked about his life, his plans. And he was like, he was perfectly fine. because I think it had bothered him too that there was this narrative of, oh, he was sloppy drunk. Like and it started at the very beginning. It was, oh, he was sloppy drunk. And I'm like, but was he though? Or is this a narrative that you guys want to use to kind of have us just accept that it was a drowning?
Seems like that to me. Seems like that to me is more like of an alibi, more of an excuse to why whatever happened to Nolan has happened to him. And now we even seen Officer Tatum come out to say that he was on drugs. So I'm like, damn, is that true now? Like, come on, man. So the story's all over the place. We see a lot of people taking sides in this case, taking the sides of the young men. And at the end of the day, it's still justice for Nolan Wells, still justice for him. But one thing I will give credit to is his mom. She is a very well-spoken person. I think she's a very strong woman, how she's just speaking and how she also lifted up her own platform of her own son to shed light on a couple of other children that were unalive in some suspicious ways. So salute to them for being unselfish and not just making it all about Nolan, but also shedding that light to other families as well, man.
Are you prepared for whatever it is? I know that's tough, and that's a yes and no question.
Honestly, it's hard to be prepared in any way with the way we have been thrusted onto the national stage and just kind of everything. And it's going to take a long time. So even, God willing, when we do get honest, transparent answers, right? Even when we get those answers, it's still going to take a moment, not even a moment. It's still going to take a while for us to digest and really accept that. Because again, and this is just me now speaking from a medical standpoint, we're kind of stuck in one of the stages of grief because we don't have answers. And that's the thing people don't understand. Everyone grieves differently. You hit those stages of grief at different times, and sometimes you feel like they might go on at the same time. But right now, we're kind of just stuck, and we can't move forward because we don't have answers.
So when you talk about all the things that have been spread, there is this officer, I hate mentioning his name, a former officer who is a far right wing, who's been doing the interviews and has been saying, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not even going to comment on Brandon Tatum. No.
I respect that. And that's the right answer for everybody, I believe. And I feel like, because I mentioned him, I'm like, why did I even mention him? Because he doesn't deserve a platform.
No, he does not.
So let's talk about the people, the young men that he's been interviewing. They're saying they're his best friends. Some of them you said that you don't know. One of them even said, "Oh, Nolan would be outraged by the way his parents are handling this." And I'm like, wait, what? Like, why on earth would somebody go on and say that about a grieving family? But again, distraction. We're not even going to address them or that man. We only want the truth. Again, at the end of the day, I'm going to say it like I've been saying it. The only question we have is what happened to Nolan. That's what we need to know. That's it. That's all. Dad, you've been here. We saw you yesterday with not only speaking up for your son, but for others as well who have been involved in mysterious deaths. That was a very emotional moment for you, and the vulnerability I saw there. What do you want to say to folks who are your wife is getting, threats. She's being harassed. Those families have been treated like they're a nuisance by police departments, according to the reporting. What do you want to say to America about this?
Like my wife said, just from a parent standpoint, we just want to know what happened. We want a fair and thorough investigation, just like the other families. Because we hurt just like them. If this was their children, they would want to know. They would want to go to every resource they can get to the ends of the world to find out what happened. So then that's all we're doing. We're not accusing anyone. We just want to know what happened to our son because it doesn't add up. Times don't add up, stories don't add up, and it just doesn't. So we just want a fair and thorough investigation so we can grieve properly, because we can't, because there are so many answers with so many questions that are not answered.
I don't know if you want to respond to this, or Ben or Christine. The father of one of the young men who's been speaking out has put up a $50,000 reward reportedly. What do you think of that, Ben or Elmore or Christine?
Yeah, so we are happy with anybody who wants to share the objective to get into the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. So we applaud it and we say, yeah, let's all work together to get answers, because we, as we've said continuously, Don Lemon, adamantly, somebody saw something, somebody knows something. I mean, and that's what you want, are answers.
Mm-hmm. Ben, yes, we all do want answers in this. Can you talk to us about that press conference yesterday? Because it's not just, and all of them 18 years old, these young people, right? There was a very emotional press conference with the family and the grandmother. You chose to highlight that at the Urban League. Tell us why.
You know, I am so thankful that Christine and Elmore, Nolan's parents, were open to being able to use the attention that they have been blessed with in the loss of their son to try to help other 18-year-old Black boys who were lost in similar manner as Nolan. Don Lemon, you and I have been doing this for years, where you use your platforms to give, you know, a voice to those who don't have a voice. And when you saw that press conference yesterday, you saw two families completely devastated, where you had that 18-year-old Black boys, three families, all in search of the truth, coming together about what really happened to their children. You had Daniel Irvin, who, like Nolan, they're saying it was an accidental drowning, even though his mother said he was on the swim team. And the fact that he was, you know, on a fishing trip or something with two other white teenagers, he allegedly accidentally drowns, and then they throw away his cell phone, they throw away his clothes, and they delete all their text messages with him. And his mother, Tamika, is out of her mind trying to say, where's my baby? And after 4 days and all-out search where the activist community and everybody are getting involved, then one of the young men and his parents come forward and say, well, he accidentally drowned and we were scared, so we got rid of evidence and, you know, we are sorry. And so they're charged with tampering with evidence that they lied about. And his mother, Tamika, is saying, if you lied about his cell phone, you lied about throwing away his clothes, you lied about deleting text messages, then how can we believe you when you say he accidentally drowned when my son was a swimmer? And the fact that the Dallas Police Department took 3 months, even after they confessed to doing all of this, Don Lemon, before they did anything. And she adamantly believes that it was because of Nolan Wells that they finally arrested them for tampering with evidence. She didn't think they were going to do anything. And this was just this Black mother by herself just fighting down. Nobody gave them any attention in the media and stuff. And so that's what this is about, trying to make sure people know our children's lives matter too. And then, Don, Tyler Smith in Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, on 4th of July, this is the same day that Nolan goes missing. Her son, Lindsay Smith's son, Tyler, is at the house celebrating 4th of July, and he's the only Black person there. And he somehow ends up shot in the head, dead. 911 is called, the police come, and then they say they were playing Russian roulette that it was an accidental shooting, that he shot himself. And the police didn't on his hands or anybody's hands. They just take their word for it.
You
And
said
then,
no gunshot residue test because you cut out. The police didn't do a gunshot residue test, right? And then when she said, when they told the grandmother and they asked, you know, how do you know it was an accidental or whatever? And she said, because they said so, the people with him. That's not an investigation.
That's not an investigation, but thank God for that courageous Black grandmother who refused to say, no, I'm not going to just let y'all sweep my grandson death under the rug. She kept asking for the gunshot residue. She kept arguing. So they took a gun that was there at the scene that they said was where he used to kill himself. And they then did an analysis. Down the limit, they found out that the casings did not match that gun. And so then they had to investigate everybody who was at the house. Nobody volunteered anything. They went 7 days later to a young man's house, surrounded it, and then finally he came out and offered the gun and said, this is the gun that he shot himself with. And you would think they would say, hold on, why didn't you tell us this the day we went to the house? Why did you tamper with evidence? Why did you take evidence away from the scene? They only charged him with tampering with evidence. They still have not charged anybody with killing Tyler Smith, even though if you didn't do anything wrong, why would you take the gun from the scene of the alleged shooting? And so it's just god awful. And, you know, we have to continue to stay on that. I think all of these cases, we're going to find the answers out to what happened, Don. We're going to find it out. 3 18-year-old Black boys.
Ben, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I have to ask you some legal questions here because it's part of the story, and I want to debunk stuff that's not true.
Yep.
So there have been reports of legal maneuvering from the mom, the parents, to open up the estate, to investigate, possibly sue people who are for misinformation. Are those things true? Do you want to talk about that?
Certainly. Don, as you know, we're not law enforcement, so to get subpoena power and information, we have to have a legal apparatus. So, state in Nolan Wells' name, and because we have to do
Ben,
that.
Can you back up a little bit? You cut out. I'm sorry. Back up just a little bit. I want everybody to hear this. Pardon me.
Yeah, let's be clear. Because we're not law enforcement, we're private entities, and we have to use certain legal apparatuses that are available to us. One such thing is we open up estates, which, as we all know, is the only entity that can speak for somebody once they are deceased. And so his mother is over his estate. But once we get the estate open, down limit, that then gives us the right to be able to subpoena people and entities and corporations to preserve evidence, to preserve information. So that's why we sent those subpoenas out, because we want that evidence to be preserved, because we don't know what is going to be relevant and not relevant, but we don't want it to be destroyed or lost. And so we want to look at the phone records. We want to look at the social media records. We want to look at the text messages, because that may be very valuable information to discovering what happened to Nolan Wells.
Mm-hmm. And this possible intent to sue, is that part of that? Does that go along with those?
You have to say that language to preserve it. Like, in anticipation of litigation, we want to make sure you preserve this information. Right now, we don't know where the information is going to lead us. We don't know what the answers are, but we're in a ferocious search for.
One thing I will say is that was a very smart move for them to go through a civil suit, which preserves all evidence, physical evidence, digital evidence, electronic evidence, everything, computers, phones, cached, evidence, information, things that are deleted. They even go as far as to say, you know how your phone has a setting that, after a certain amount of weeks or days, it deletes things? No, you need to take that feature off as well, because you will be culpable for any information that's needed that you do not have. If there's a trial and this goes to trial, that evidence will be presented before the grand jury. So I think that was a good thing to do.
The truth. And based on that, then we will do things that are necessary to get some measure of justice for Nolan Wells' family. We hope and pray that we can find out the answers as to what happened to Nolan, and that the district attorney and the government authorities would do what is appropriate based on the evidence that is ascertained. We want to make sure that this is treated just as if it was anybody's child that was taken, that you will say we want equal justice. And as I said over and over again, I am for truth, no matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. I am for justice, no matter who it convicts or who it acquits. We are for transparency so everybody can see.
And the question you were asked yesterday about the father of one of the young men saying that that you somehow slandered his son and he's looking at suing.
I don't even know. I don't even know who he is. It's a distraction, Don. I don't even recall calling any of those young men's names ever out of my mouth. But it's a distraction.
I don't recall it either. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not going to be distracted.
So I will say to the parents, while we're here, Mr. Elmore, do you have anything else that you want to say? Transparency from the DA's office, from the state of Mississippi, for what your family is dealing with?
No, just like Mr. Crump said, we just want a truthful and a transparent and a fair investigation. We want to know answers. And until that's on the side, we can agree.
Mom?
Once again, if there is anyone who has original photos, videos, if you saw something, please contact the hotline, just so we, again, can get the answers that we are desperately searching for. And if you really are Nolan's friend and you saw something, you need to call. You absolutely need to call, because at the end of the day, if it were you and your parents, I'm sure they would be doing the same.
Thank you, Ms. Christine. Thank you, Ben. Ben, just can you hand the phone? Ben, thank you. And I really appreciate you joining us. And I want to make sure that you said everything. Yeah.
Hopefully, we're going to have more breaking news on Lexington, Kentucky. I think some people are about to tell us what really happened in that house with Tyler Smith. We'll keep you informed.
Thank you, Benjamin Crump, Elmore, and Christine Wansley. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Don Lemon. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. So there you go. And that's what you get here on the Don Lemon Show, on the Don Lemon channel. And that's what happens.
Especially that Tyler Smith situation is tragic, man. They said that he passed away from Russian roulette. Yet when they came and conducted their supposed investigation, they never took no forensics of the hand, no gunpowder residue on the hands of his hands, because they said he shot himself, right? Then come to find out another weapon was used because the shell casings did not match, and they came out to say, oh, here's the weapon that was used, and it's only tampering evidence. The Daniel Irvin case, which is another shady situation, man, okay? He's there with two white boys, whatever you want to call them, but one is a minor, so they haven't really went into who he was exactly, but they've speculated that he is also white. And they said that he jumped off like a rail bridge, and he just drowned. He surfaced once for air, acting like he was needing help, and then he went back under and never resurfaced. But they never told anybody anything. They went and threw his clothes into the tree line, his phone, discarded messages, all types of stuff. Days later, they come out to find out that they tampered with evidence. Nobody has been charged with homicides in these suspicious unalivings, right? Only evidence tampering. That's it. And the greatest thing about the whole situation is that Nolan Wells' parents have lifted up their own platform and the national notoriety that they have been getting because of their son's untimely passing to shed light on some other children, some other people as well, not just making it about themselves. And I think that speaks volumes about their character. You know, as many people judging them, many people are threatening them. We've seen Warren's mom has now gotten a man arrested, okay, for sending threatening messages. So this is not the time for all the hokey dokey and hokey pokey, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you see it right here on the screen, this is the actual federal indictment of a one Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars, okay? He has sent threatening messages. This man was arrested for trying to be with minors, also touching himself, all types of weirdo type evidence, went to jail about like 2019 or so, okay? Was released maybe like 2 years or so ago. This man is on the offenders list, the registry, yet he's here threatening people's families, not only people's families, he's threatening minor children with booms, saying that you're gonna have a boom sent to your house, all types of different things. So this is just a situation that's crazy, and it's also developing. This man faces up to 5 years in prison, up to a $250,000 fine as well, and 3 years post supervision, as well as $100, I think, like an assessment fee as well. So this opens up the case to a lot of things. We online, we never see that. Sometimes people just making threats. You're saying a whole bunch of things online. You hire a lawyer. That's what they've done. They've subpoenaed YouTube. YouTube has came to say what is the actual IP address of whoever it's that was sending the messages from Yay 962, I think was the name of the screen name. They've located this person. Okay, many people have been getting threats in relation to this case, as well as the Wells family, the Wells Wansley family, as well as people that are just covering the case as well. But just goes to show you, don't think that you're on the low. You can be found and you can be found out. Okay, that man was even teasing the Fed to say, the FBI can't do nothing about this. Well, you have learned today, sir, that yes, the hell they can do something to you. Okay, so who knows if Christina Wells and Elmore Wansley Wells, if they're going to go about seeking justice the same way. You know what I mean? Who knows if they're going to do that? But they've been receiving a lot of unaliving threats as well, and people that's trying to distract them from the truth and trying to detract. And yeah, man, I just see that. I see other people being arrested in relation to this case just for online activity, man, just based upon online activity. So it's a really crazy
independent journalism. We don't have to have interviews where they're sitting down, everybody perfectly lit and whatever. Do you know how much information you got out of that as they are on their way, trying to figure out what they're going to do next? That's what really independent journalism is about. We can change on a second and report things. And just before the show, I reached out and said, hey, what's going on with the autopsy? He said, we're in a sprinter. I said, well, let's do an interview. He goes, we're in a sprinter. We're going. I said, that's what we want. So,
yeah, man, the autopsy is being withheld, as well as the insides of Nolan's throat are also being withheld. They said they're going to give it to the grand jury first. All right. They never really got a chance to really see what the hell's going on with the inside of his throat muscles, because whether you're being choked or whether you're drowning and you're going underwater, every time you intake water, your throat muscles begin to spasm. And these things leave traces so that they can understand and figure out whether you drowned, whether you choked or not. So Daniel Irving, in his case, remember they said that he drowned when he jumped off the rail bridge. That's just the two cases that they ended up highlighting on the press conference. But come to find out that his airway was not impeded at all. So this is how they even check those muscles as well. So it's looking like maybe he was unalived already when he went in the water. So maybe there's more to that situation. So again, they're not going to release the autopsy as well. They're going to be sending this to a grand jury. You know what I mean? Some people could call for and cry out for foul play here. You know what I mean? What's going on, man? Why is this being withheld? Why did the body coming out the throat muscles and the insides of the throat? Like, what the hell's going on here? You know what I mean? Where is the transparency in this situation? But shout out to the Wells Wansley family and Benjamin Crump for subpoenaing the family with that actual civil lawsuit. I think that's one of the smartest things they did. I think they should have did it from the beginning, because people can discard evidence. They can discard information. Not only digital evidence. You see how like a family's being in contact with homicide investigators or whatever, talking to you, text messaging you and all that. All of those things have to be preserved. Not only of the friends that was on the boat, but family of the friends as well as anybody that's represented them. All of their information must be preserved. And I think that was one of the smartest moves that Benjamin Crump and Nolan's parents did, is to preserve that evidence, because you never know what you're going to need. Just like Benjamin Crump said, you don't know what part of the evidence you're going to need. You don't know what it's going to be useful to you. So I think they, you know what I mean? There was probably one step behind that rabbit. I think they should have got on that from the very beginning. But they also wasn't pushing out blame to any specific person. So yeah, man, it's just a crazy situation, y'all. Crazy situation. No. I'm talking about on the last press conference, right? Nolan Wells and mom and father and Ben Crump, they also highlighted 2 other cases. They've used the national attention of their case to highlight 2 other 18-year-old young Black boys that's unalive in suspicious circumstances, right? One was drowned, one was shot, okay? The one that was drowned, his name is Daniel Irvin. The one that was shot, his name is Tyler Smith. So they parents end up getting up and speaking during the last press conference. I did the video on one of my last lives, like 2 lives ago. You know what I mean? I covered the press conference as well after I covered the body language. It's on my body language video, where the body language artist was talking about Nolan's friends and discovering their body language. She even went into the body language of Officer Tatum as well as Nolan Wells as well. So on that, that's the other 2 cases that I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, that's the other 2 cases. But it's a sad situation, man. Sad situation, man.
Thank you to the family. Thank you for them. Look, anybody would want in this situation. They are 100% right. Anybody would want answers. Any person, any family in this position would want answers from what happened to their loved one. They would want answers about what happened to their loved one. And we are getting answers for you because we are journalists. Now, there are some things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about with one of the people out there whose name, maybe I shouldn't even mention their name, because that was such a great interview and that was actually informative rather than distracting and divisive, right? But we're going to talk more about this case. We're going to talk more about this story. We have some other details, breaking news details. Make sure you hit the like and the thumbs up, because it is very important to the health of this channel. You're not going to get it anywhere else. If you are not a member, become a member. And if you are a member, you can also gift memberships as well. And make sure you
salute to Dahlia. Salute to my girl Dahlia, man, for becoming a member as well of Uda On Go. I appreciate that as well. I appreciate that a lot, sister. I appreciate that as well. I adore you as well. Let's get past this. What are you talking about? What's this? Breaking news on autopsy? What are you talking about? What? No, hello. What are you talking about, Don?
all these weeks, asking for answers, asking for transparency, wanting someone to tell you.
Let's read this real quick. I've been thinking about Nolan Wells' parents this morning. Imagine waiting all these weeks, asking for answers, asking for transparency, wanting someone to tell you what happened to your son. And then the day finally comes when you may hear those answers. We all say that we want the truth. Of course we do. But sometimes the answers are the hardest part. They can bring relief. They can confirm your worst fears. They can answer one question and leave you with 5 more. No parent wants to sit in that room, but Nolan's family is expected to meet with the state official today to hear the findings of the official autopsy. Their attorney, Benjamin Crump, is scheduled to join us on Hot Topics at 10 this morning, and we'll ask him what he knows. Again, this is what they're waiting for, man. They're waiting for what are the results. And I doubt they're going to bring them the results yet. You know what I mean? I think They've been dragging their feet on the results, man. Hey, Jacqueline, I think that they've been dragging their feet. You know what I mean? So shout out to the Wells and Ben Crump, because they did their own independent investigation. Salute to anybody that actually, you know, donated to them and contributed to their causes, be it celebrities, be it just regular people like you and me. Salute to that, you know what I mean? Because these types of things cost a lot of money, you know, to have your own independent investigation, you know what I mean? Have your own people look into the autopsies as well and these different types of things. You know, it costs money, most definitely costs money. And I don't understand why some people are making it a bad thing for them to get some help and for them to get donations. Look at George Zimmerman. Look at Tyler Rittenhouse, whatever his name, Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Many people get support. They actually turn millionaires after they done unalived people. These people didn't unalive nobody. Their son was unalived, actually, right? You could say allegedly, right? Because it's still to be said out there. But that's what they feel. They feel like there's some foul play here, and everybody's not being as forthcoming as they're saying, and everybody's not being as truthful as they are. You know what I mean? So why can't they not get support? You know what I mean? So I just think it's a shady situation all around the boards.
The generosity, your generosity, and thank you for helping to build this community. So welcome. Good morning, everybody. I didn't really get a chance to welcome you that much. Let us know your opinion about what happened. Everybody already seems to know exactly what happened. And that is fascinating to me. Because while investigators are still collecting evidence, the rest of us have been watching something else entirely unfold. We've watched parents defend their children. We've watched another family fight for answers. We have watched lawyers argue their cases in public. We have watched commentators dissect every interview, every timeline, and every statement. Now, as I mentioned to Benjamin Crump, Warren Hudson's father says that he is threatening to sue Ben Crump for defamation because he believes his son has been unfairly portrayed before anyone has been charged with a crime. Now, here's the interesting thing. Okay, he's not a typical public figure, but he chose to do the interviews, or you allowed him. I don't know. You may have, well, he's 18. I don't know if you have to give him permission, assuming he's 18, not 17. So he's sort of made himself a public figure. I don't know what that means for a lawsuit when you put yourself out there to answer questions. And so people are going to have questions. At the same time, though, Ben Crump says that his focus remains finding, you heard what he says, finding out what happened to Nolan Wells. He says, I'm not going to be distracted by that. I don't even know who this person is. And then you have people like Jolly. I don't know, guys, is Jolly going to join us this morning? He was. I don't know if he is or not. Let us know, Jolly, if you're watching. But anyway, you have people like Jolly who's looking closely at Warren Hudson's public statements, his public accounts, and saying, wait a minute, this part doesn't really make sense. And that's fair game. If someone gives a public account in a case that this significant, people are going to compare it to the evidence that they have. That's what journalists do. That's what investigators do. That's what the public does, quite frankly. But here's where I think that we have to be disciplined. Finding a flaw in someone's story isn't the same thing as proving a crime. Questioning a timeline is not the same thing as solving a case. Those are different things. And defending someone against public accusations, that's not the same thing as proving that they are innocent. So
I agree, Don. I agree there. I most definitely agree there. I do, Don. Can't hold you there. I do agree. But they open themselves up to that. You know what I mean? Now we got body language analysts is analyzing their body language and seeing if they're lying. That's what happens when you come out and you want to tell your story or whatever the case may be. That's just what comes with the territory. This point blank period. And this is a highly publicized case. All right. Highly publicized case. So speaking of Warren, someone has been arrested for threatening Warren's mom. So I just do want to show y'all that real quick. So we could just run that down real quick for y'all. Boom. Right. So let me just show y'all that real quick so you can see. Let me just kind of read a little bit of this for y'all. This is the United States of America versus Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars. Okay. They said the grand jury charges on or about July 11, 2026 in the Jackson County in the Southern Division of the Southern District of Mississippi and elsewhere, the defendant, Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars, did knowingly and willfully transmit in interstate and foreign commerce a communication containing a threat to injure a person of another, to wit, a direct message on Facebook threatening to unalive Ashley Cole, which is Warren's stepmother, okay? Yeah, my daughter back here. All right. So notice of intent is to seek criminal charges, but the actual title is Title 18 United States Code Section 875C. Now, the notice of intent to seek criminal forfeitures, anything that was used to further this crime, to commit this crime, needs to be forfeited, okay? So as a result of committing the offense as alleged in this indictment, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States all property involved in or traceable property involved in the offense, including but not limited to all proceeds obtained directly or indirectly from the offense. Now, further, in any property described above as the result of any act or omission of the defendant, A, cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, B, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third party, C, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of this court, or D, has been substantially diminished in value, or E, has been commingled with other property which cannot be divided without difficulty, then it is the intent of the United States to seek a judgment of forfeiture of any property of the defendant up to the value of the property described in this notice or any bill of particulars that is supporting it, all pursuant to Title 18 United States Code Section 981A1C and Title 28 United States Code Section 2461, okay? They go into it. This is the actual charge. Interstate transmission of threatening communications, 18 USC 875C. And this is the maximums right here. There's going to be, these are the maximums, not more than 5 years of imprisonment, not more than a $250,000 fine, not more than 3 years post-supervised release, probation, parole type thing, and $100 in a special assessment, right? Cool. They go into it that this person is not a juvenile. They said that this matter will be sealed. See this arrow right here. This will be a sealed case. So hopefully they don't seal it, bro. You know what I'm saying? But it's looking like they're going to seal it, because I could have actually been following this case and bringing it up on Pacer and kind of giving you any updates as well. They got the AUSA, the U.S. Attorney information. Hunter McCrate. They got his bar number. This doesn't need an interpreter because you heard the person's name is Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars. Maybe a person is Latino. I'm thinking of Latino descent. So, but they're also saying that they don't need a translator in this situation or an interpreter. But the total count is all the one count, which is the transmitting of federal commerce in the state. Threatening communication. See, yeah. And that's the case that's going on against this guy, Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars, okay? So he done found himself in a whole heap of trouble. Dude is a weirdo too, on the low, on the high, on the side, whatever, bro. He was doing some weird things with minors, referring to minors, and it's damn crazy, all right, y'all? Damn crazy. I might have to read a little bit of the tip to you just to show you what the man was on, son. The man was on some weird time, but I did do a video on this. You could go and check that video. I just did my last live. I did it like 1:35 this morning. Soon as the news broke about maybe like 12 or so. I ended up waking up and I just got to a video on this, all right? They said a Sacramento man is in custody in Mississippi on federal charge, accusing him of sending a direct message over social media, threatening to unalive a judge with a connection to the disappearance and unaliving of Nolan Wells earlier this month, according to the records filed in this case. Wells, 18, disappeared July 4th during a boat trip with 3 friends on Horn Island in Jackson, Mississippi, and his body was recovered 2 days later by a National Park Service ranger on a nearby island. Okay. Ashley Cole, who's a chancery judge, whose son was among those 3, earlier this month, posted screenshots of graphic unaliving threats that she said she had received via Facebook from an anonymous account with the username Yay962, and a Biloxi-based Sun Herald newspaper reported that Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars of Sacramento is being held on a federal charge of interstate transmission of a threatening communication, okay? Yeah, man. So the man is weird though too as well, man. I want to see if I could find exactly. You just go to my last video, my last live, and it'll show you. But I just want to go to show you. I've been reading so much things about it. Okay, here, right here. I just want to show y'all real quick. See? Dumars in 2019 was arrested by the Sacramento Police Department on suspicion of exposing himself to and then attempting to kidnap a 13-year-old girl outside of a Meadowview Elementary School, according to a previous Sacramento Bee reporting. According to an entry in Megan's Law, crazy, California's SEX offender registry, Dumars was convicted in 2019 of annoying or molesting a child under 18 years of age, and in 2020 of sending harmful matter with the intent of seducing a minor. And he was released from prison in California in 2023, according to the same offender registry. And he is listed as being a transient in Sacramento. So it's just a bunch of weirdness going on with this guy. Hey, Gilbert, salute to y'all. Yeah, man, bunch of weirdness going on in this situation. Go and check my last live. I go into a full read, the full breakdown, the paperwork, everything like that in there as well. So, man, just a crazy situation, man. Again, RIP to Nolan Wells. Condolences to his family. And, you know what I mean? Hopefully the truth comes out, you know what I mean? Also, my condolences goes to Daniel Irvin's family and Tyler Smith. And RIP to them as well, you know what I mean? And hopefully more truth comes out with them. Hopefully some charges are upgraded from just a simple tampering with evidence to actually somebody being charged with a homicide, because they know that both unalivings were under suspicious. It just was under suspicious activity to me, you know what I mean? So just a crazy situation all around the board. But salute to the Wells and Wansley family for using their platform and the national notoriety that they've been getting to highlight someone else's child, because I do believe helping someone else's child is like helping your own. And I do believe that we cannot forget about young people out here, us as older people as well. I think that everything about life is to help younger people. I believe that children are the future. So if you are a man listening to my voice, make sure you're helping a young man, a young boy, dropping some jewels on them, tell them some things, try to help them maybe stay up out these streets, stay up off the liquor, stay up off the drugs, stay away from bad company that can carry you but can't bring you back. You know what I mean? And if you are a woman listening to my voice right now, do the same for a young woman, a young girl. Tell her some things that could help her to avoid some of these abusive relationships and all these different things, connecting with friends, or just trying to be down with friends, or with males and men, or any kind of thing like that, of the things you've been through. Help them not to go through some of the things that you have went through. We may never get accredited for those things. It's okay. Me, I get and give all my credit to God and to Jesus. That's his point blank. That's just me. I'm not forcing that upon you or anybody else. You can believe in anything you want to believe in, all right? But that's how we begin to help our future, is by helping someone else, and especially that someone else being a young child, okay? Let us protect children. It takes a village to raise children, and it also takes a village to protect children, okay? Salute to all of y'all. I love y'all. Stay blessed. Stay safe, and first and foremost, make sure we stay on go, yo. But make sure that we on go together, because that's how they like us divided, because that's how they get to beat us in any way when we are divided. We need to be together, working together, building together. There's no color on a good person. There's no color on a real person, all right? So we're not just going to be racist because other people are racist, all right? We're not going to do that. We're not going to sin ourselves because people are doing certain things and thinking in certain ways. Let us be the light that we think we are, and let us begin to show that light to the world. All right, y'all? Salute to everybody. Hopefully y'all all have a blessed day today. All right? Thank God and Jesus that we here. If you believe in God and Jesus, if you believe in the earth or rock, thank it. Okay, you're here, homie. You're here. Okay? Salute to all of y'all, man. I'll be back with another one. Ooda, ooda, ooda. Y'all already know. Always on go.
All my niggas from the Uda. All my niggas turn shooters.